Welcome to a section I'm calling Gazzetta Walk. So I mean, obviously I've been doing the paper reviews non-stop pretty much, but it's very rare that I get a bit of a chance to talk about something more in depth. So I thought, well, everyone's, struggling for time in the day. So what about Fiorentina? What about time I'm having a bit of a walk? Something where we can just have a bit of a discussion. Well, not a discussion, but I can talk about it. Maybe you can comment below on this. So Fiorentina, let's talk about that. Obviously it's been a horrific season for them so far. I'm looking at it at the moment, it doesn't look too great either. They've got two Europa League conference playoffs, GAZZETTA, and that's going to be difficult. But even then, they've not won it since they played against Bologna. Obviously lost this recently, especially to Napoli, of course, and Como. And then, of course, they had that weird twist where they got to play Como again, but before that, Torino. And at the moment, lying in 18th place, it doesn't look good. I mean, question really being is exactly just what do they expect from this season? Are they actually going to stay up? When you look at the squad with people like Moise Kean and David De Gea, it's really strange to find themselves in this situation. Obviously they've got a talented squad. They've got the Franchi's under construction. They've just had the new training ground built. I mean, awful news obviously, of course, about Rocco Commisso, a man who I'll talk about in a minute. But it really is a strange situation they find themselves in. You can never be too good to go down, and of course that Fiorentina side of the early 90s is testament to that. So I suppose my question to you guys is, do you think they can stay up? It's a bit of an obvious question maybe, but when you look at the playing staff, it looks like they should be performing better. Now, I've watched Fiorentina quite a few times and I find it really strange. I think it's a mental issue rather than an ability situation, because one player who probably captures that in the most is David De Gea. Now, David De Gea, to me, when he's on song, look at the game he played against Inter, who's absolutely fantastic, and he's had 4 or 5 performances this season that were world class, absolutely phenomenal. But there has been some games, most notably against Sassuolo, where a rudimentary catch from a corner saw him scurrying over, not even sidestepping, actually running, which is a definite no-go for a goalkeeper. As soon as that went, his head completely bent, and it's sort of symbolic of the team at the moment. After that, he was making mistakes left, right and centre, and it seems as though that team really don't have the capacity to do that when it goes wrong. So it's almost like from the very start they continue to have problems. So the question for me really is just what capacity do they have within their ranks? Now, when you look around them, the likes of Lecce, of course, you think they should really, man for man, be way punching above their weight. But again, it's going to be a very interesting situation from now till the end of the season to just see how much they can press on. And the next couple of fixtures, for me, really, really tricky. That Europa League conference game is something they really, really don't want. But it may give a bit of solace to the season, because there is always the possibility that they stay at the season. And of course, win the Conference League. And then you can also look at a situation where they've got the new Rizzoli, nicely built, training ground amazing, and onwards and upwards. So it's a real pivotal moment, and I think that it's really, be an awful situation for Serie A to not have Fiorentina in the division, because for many of us they symbolise, with just so much beauty of the game. We've just seen, of course, Batistuta celebrate his birthday, and many of us will remember those teams with Batistuta, Rui Costa, even to a point Stefan Effenberg, many others, as well as people like Francesco Tondo and many other players like that. So it's really, a plethora of talent that's gone through there. And one other thing as well is that, you look at just now, you can't be nostalgic about a team and say, well, they used to have those great players, therefore they should stay up. But I think that the fans in the city are incredible. Obviously, it's an amazing place, and I've got a lot of friends in Florence and at Fiorentina, and it's a great club in itself. Shame about Rocco Commisso, of course. Commiserations to everyone in the club for that, because I'll tell you one little story about Rocco Commisso. So I also, well, as you do or don't know, do the Spezia podcast as well as the Inter podcast, and some media work for those guys. And just 1 second, my hand's getting cold. And So I do some media work for those guys, and the reason the Spezia came about is because I work with a guy called Charlie Stilatano, who's president of Spezia, and I work with him on Sirius XFM. So anyway, back in the day when Rocco Commisso first took over Fiorentina, I asked Charlie, who knows him really well from his time in America, so if I could have his number. Now, this is where I made a great mistake of journalism, is that I assumed, never assume in sales, never assume in journalism. And I assumed that he was obviously on the Italian time. I presumed he was in Florence, of course you do. So I called him, and Rocco Commisso answered the phone with, "Who the fuck are you and what the fuck do you want?" Excuse my language, I don't know how to beat this out. And I was a little shocked. Now, I didn't realise that I'd called him in New York at 3 a.m. So that was bad. So I started to apologise, many apologies, loads of sorries and etc. And in the end, I was like, "Listen, I'm so sorry to have disturbed you, etc. I was told on good authority you're in Italy." That's a white lie. The good authority being my own intuition, which was wrong. And apologised profusely to the man. And in the end, he said, no, I'm up now. So what you're going to do is just sit down and ask me all your questions, because I'm up. Now we're going to answer it. And he spent a good 45 minutes on the phone to me and was the nicest possible man in the world. And then he said, "Thank you very much" to me, and he went back to bed. Absolute legend of a man. Brilliant character, and be sorely missed. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about Fiorentina, their ability to stay up this season, who the main players for them you think they'll be to drag them over the line. And yes, it'll be certainly interesting to see those comments. But if there's anything else you want me to talk about as well, or any questions you've got, let me know, and I'll talk about it next time on what I'm going to call Gazzetta Walks.